Hello and welcome into another edition of the NFL Roundup Podcast.
Hello.
I'm Shane Stanley, joined by John Hepso again.
Hello again.
So we're going to wrap up our draft coverage now today with our NFC recap and just talk about a few news items that's been going on in free agency.
Yeah, so I guess we'll, like you said, we'll start with a couple news items here. Jarvis Landry signing with the Saints.
Yeah, the Saints are going all in now, it seems. Hey, we're getting all these like secondary guys that are coming in and filling out their roster, and we'll get into their draft here shortly. They didn't have a ton of picks though, so they kind of had to go to free agent route.
They didn't. They moved up in the draft, and it seems like they shipped away a little bit of capital there.
Yeah.
But like I said, we'll get to it. But Brady signs a massive deal with Fox. What is it? $375 million.
$375 over 10 years. So just to put that in perspective too, I think Romo gets paid about $17.5 per season.
So he's getting double that.
More than double, so it's great.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty big. So
and another perspective piece is Brady has made around $322 million in his 21-22 seasons
as a player.
As a player in the NFL. And over his broadcasting career for the next 10 years after he's done, he's going to over double it.
This man owns a mansion, and he will not stay in it.
Yes. It's like he goes home to the kids, and it's like, hey, you want to toss her in the football? No more football. Aww.
No, Dad, we're playing Xbox. And he's like, God damn.
Damn, we got nobody to play football with. I guess I'll go back to my team.
But the thing is, like, there's still, like the preparation and, like, the studying and the film and all that in the analyst role. So, like,
he's still going to be really involved.
It's what he enjoys doing. So,
yeah.
I mean, and it is something, I guess, watching film stuff, it is something you could do from home more so than going to practice each day.
Oh, definitely.
So it's a role for basically the same amount of money he probably makes as a player by today's standard of quarterback, and still get some home time.
Yes.
And still be, so it's kind of a happy medium. You get some football, you get some family, you get some money.
For sure.
it's
a lot of money.
Really, yeah, but it's not a bit, but yeah, so it really covers all bases there.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I am so excited for him to be calling a game. I actually cannot wait for this moment.
Yeah, I think it's cool too that it's on Fox, because you got Romo on one side, which is like I still enjoy listening.
I love listening to Romo.
Some people are sick of him by now, but like I'm still enjoying his calling.
I think he got great insight to the game.
And now Brady's on Fox, so you kind of get that perspective on too. So
yeah,
I think
and
that's
the
cool.
networks, I think over the 10 years expected that Brady's going to be there at Fox.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have 6 Super Bowls. So he's going to be calling Super Bowls.
Wow.
That is who I want.
That's pretty cool, yeah.
Right? And Romo's got a couple. And I guess, who's the other guys? Does Collinsworth do it with Romo?
I don't know if he's out now. I don't know.
I'm not sure. But either way.
The guy that's with Al Michaels, I think it is.
Okay, yeah.
He's gone. I'm not sure. I think it might be oh my God, the black guy with the glasses. What's his name? He used to do Monday Night Football. I can't remember his name. But anyways, I think he's moving in with Al Michaels' spot.
Right,
So
okay.
they'll be the Sunday night guys. And then Brady's with Aikman or whoever. And or Joe Buck or whoever is with him. And then CBS's Romo. So
that'd be sick.
It's cool, yeah. And well, just speaking about the networks, Drew Brees was doing it for NBC. And he is out now, it seems, of that contract. Now he's talking about he might play, he might
just go back. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like everyone who's heard the story is like, don't. Right? So
yeah, I think even the Saints are like, Drew, we moved on. We've had plans. Like, if this is a conversation we had the year you retired, well, we might have held out hope, like,
Which is interesting because, like, as we just talked about there at the start with signing Landry, like, they're basically getting, Olave they drafted in the first round, Michael Thomas back, plus Landry. So you basically get a whole new receiver core.
And you got Alvin Kamara there, who I thought was released by the Saints, but actually it was released from jail. So
we thought it was like disaster for the Saints, but it turns out it was a good
it was a good thing.
You don't want any of your players in jail, I guess. Yeah. So I don't know.
But against the positive, he came out.
It could still happen yet. We don't know, but I mean, I guess we'll see as that goes on. But it's interesting that they have that, and then they went after Matthew. Like, they're still a contending team, great defense.
Yes.
I would still say they're a quarterback away. Yeah. Depending on how you feel about Jameis Winston, right? So
and they got Taysom Hill there.
And
they drafted We'll get into it.
Yeah. So if Breeze comes back, does he fix that void? I'm not really sure.
I don't think he has the arm anymore.
That's what I mean. So I don't know. Like which is ironic because Winston's arm is like crazy strong, but then he's turnover prone.
See, it's polar opposites. It's Winston is over the top, Bruce Arians, deep ball Jones, 30 picks, 30 touchdowns.
Yeah.
When Drew Brees is dink and dunk and doesn't do the deep ball. So it's
accurate, no turnovers.
Exactly. So Brees could play the short game, but no long game. Winston is crap at short game, great in long game.
Yeah.
Great. Put an asterisk next to that. Wow. But, had a shit ton of yards with that 30 touchdown, 30 interception season.
Yeah.
And he has potential, As Chris Broussard would say, he's a Black Horse MVP candidate last year in the first 4 games.
Yeah.
They were 3-1, so...
Yeah, so just a couple of quick other mentions. The Dolphins signed Melvin Ingram. He was a pass rusher on the Chiefs. He was pretty good the past couple of years.
That is great signing.
So, another defense gets better with them. And the Packers re-signed Jair Alexander, 4-year, $84 million. I'm not sure if it's the highest ever for a corner, but it's the highest in today, I believe, or if not tied.
I think it's the most.
I think he just slightly beat out Denzel Ward, I think, who got extended by the Browns there not too long ago. I believe this past season. I know it's 20. I think Denzel Ward might have been 20.5 or something along those lines. So It's pretty close. But he's probably their top guy. Their defense certainly got better, so it's a good move. He's locked in for as long as Rodgers will be there. We'll see about Jordan Love. A lot of people saying he might get a second or third round pick if they try to trade Love. I'm not sure about his value, but. They do seem to have the pieces in place to compete. I still think they got a little bit worse. I guess we'll see. It depends on their draft, too, again, as we'll get into today.
Initially, I put Minnesota in as the winner of that division,
That's right.
But Green Bay's kind of winning me over a little bit.
It's close.
It's close. It's very close.
It's close.
Also, one more piece of news.
Yep.
Philly signs James Bradbury, corner from New York Giants. So the Giants lose another piece, goes to the same division, NFC East. And Philly kind of strengthens their defense a little more.
They've had a great offseason.
I think they've had an A-plus offseason.
I think with each move, I think they're closing closer and closer and closer on Dallas. And again,
same.
Just like we said with the NFC North, it's close.
Yeah.
I think it's clearly between those two. The Giants are kind of out of it. So even though they also had a pretty decent draft, and who else am I missing? Washington. They're I don't know. Yeah, they're definitely competing with the Giants for fourth.
Yeah.
Competing for fourth. So,
yeah.
One of them's just going to fall. I think they're both pretty much in the same boat. Philly looks good. Dallas is still solid. They always have a core at least.
I kind of look at Green Bay and Dallas in the same light at this point in the season where they lost some of their weapons. Right?
Yeah, I think both of them got slightly worse.
On the offensive side of the ball, talent-wise.
Yeah.
But they still got the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So it is the most important position in football.
So
are they
they're
capable?
Almost identical.
I
say I was just thinking on the way over too because Tampa's playing. I was thinking about the schedule. Tampa's playing Dallas in week 1. I was like, well, they don't have Cooper. Gallup towards ACL. He won't be playing week 1, I imagine, or if not, he'll be a shell of himself. All they have is Lamb.
Lamb and Jalen Tolbert.
Lamb and tight end Schultz.
They drafted rookie Jalen Tolbert. We'll get into that now in a second.
So not a whole lot going on there, and their defense is respectable.
As for depth, the Cowboys have no depth.
No.
At wide receiver, and they have their star, but the Packers don't have a star. They've got depth right now. They've got a 2, 3, and a bunch of forwards.
Bodies are there. Yeah. So I think two of them could be competing for probably the 3 or 4 seed. The way we'll see it play out, depending on if they win.
Yeah.
Win their respective.
Divisions.
Yeah, of course, yes. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So I think that's it for our news. Yeah, unless there's anything we missed.
Yeah, I guess you want me to start with NFC East?
Yeah. So we'll hop into our breakdowns here, and you can go ahead and start off with the East.
All right. So we'll start with the Dallas Cowboys. Their top needs for me was offensive line, D line, and wide receiver, because of what you just mentioned. Without Gallup being there, losing Amari Cooper and Cedric Wilson. I felt like they had to get somebody here.
Mm-hmm.
They had some questionable picks along the way, but they did fill all the needs with their first 3 selections. They solidified the left side of their offensive line with Tyler Smith, but it is a questionable pick with him because the Cowboys led the entire league in penalties last year.
Yes.
And this kid led the entire nation in college football in penalties last year. So he fits right in. There's no question about fit. But I don't know if that helps. He's good at protection, but he does lack a little bit of discipline. They added depth at their defensive line with D. Williams and John Ridgway. Not going to change life. But they did add Jalen Tolbert at wide receiver, who I'm pretty excited about. He kind of reminds me of Cedric Wilson a little bit. So he's going to be a good
that type of player. Yeah.
A good slot. Can get over the top, but nothing crazy. And slot him right next to CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
And Justin Schultz, as you pointed out earlier. They also added depth to their linebacking core in the 5th and 6th round with Damone Clark and Devin Harper. So I gave him a B+. Just because they did fill the needs that I had listed here.
Yeah.
So, according to what I thought they needed in the draft, they went out, got what I thought they needed. So, B+.
Yeah.
Can't give them an A, but
I think, well, especially with that first pick, it like the spot was fine. Like, as you said, it was a need.
Yeah.
It's the name, I guess, people weren't super familiar with.
Yes.
Or thought was a bit of a reach. So, I mean, we'll see. If the player pans out, they won't care.
Exactly. And I think they are pretty confident on him.
Right.
Moving on to the Eagles. Their top needs, defensive line, wide receiver, and corner. So they didn't necessarily address corner and wide receiver through the draft. But as we just said, they picked up James Bradbury.
Mm-hmm.
Corner, perfect, solidified a need.
Yep.
Wide receiver, they traded for A.J. Brown with, they started with 3 picks in the first round.
Yeah.
They dropped it down to 2 with the trade with the Saints,
Yeah.
and then they dropped it down to 1 with the trade with Tennessee. So they got their guy at wide receiver, A.J. Brown. They got their corner, James Bradbury. And defensive line, they went ahead and took Jordan Davis in the first round. A mainstay in that Georgia defense against the run game.
He's definitely a Philly-type player.
Yeah, massive body, just
physical.
Just a great player. And Philly's defense was top 10 last year. So, they got the pieces there to have a great defense.
Well, that's what I mean too. Like, they always like to build off from the front out.
Yes.
So definitely, yeah. I mean, that's a straight up their alley kind of pick.
Yeah.
I think Kanara Mock, we had him going a bit early before them, but if he was still there, I think I would have wanted to see him go here anyway. So it's a solid pick by them.
For sure. They found their future replacement for Jason Kelce at center with their second round selection, Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's a good pick. Jason Kelce's pretty much on the way out. Last couple of years he's contemplated it, signed 1-year deals.
Probably play this year, and then that guy will fill in for sure next year.
Yeah. Like I said, unfortunately they didn't select any corners, which I didn't like, but they did sign Bradbury. Just to reiterate. One person I didn't mention here was linebacker Nicolby Dean. We were so high on him.
Huge.
I was thinking first round.
Yeah.
Tennessee was where I had him going. He was the leader of that Georgia defense, and they
shocked.
got him in the third round.
Shocked he got out of the first round.
Yeah. So he's had a...
There was like a hidden injury or something with him that was not
just going to mention
disclosed, or I'm not sure.
It was at the
teams
combine.
knew about it, obviously.
Yeah.
Nobody picked him.
Yeah, there was a slight issue at the combine with some teams. I'm not sure of the specifics, but they got a great player in Nicolby Dean.
Yeah, they did.
To shore up that linebacking core. I gave him an A, including the trades during the draft and the signings prior to the draft and after. I had to give him an A. That's mostly off-season base, not specific to the draft.
Yeah.
For other teams in this draft, I'll say the opposite, where I'm not counting their off-season moves. Mm-hmm. I'm just strictly grading the draft.
But even just the 5 picks is solid players.
Yes.
Especially if Dean's who we think he is.
Yes.
They basically got a first-round player in the third round with 5 picks.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Unreal.
Great picking.
So let's move on to Washington. We had mentioned that they're battling for the 4th spot in their division. I'm not sure you can call it battling, but
yeah.
Their top needs for me: wide receiver, corner, and quarterback.
Yeah.
The Commanders have many needs going into this draft, with Terry McLaurin looking for a new deal. Wide receiver is at the top of their list, and they addressed it by getting Jahan Dotson. He's a fast, elusive wide receiver who will be a great weapon this season for Carson Wentz. Jesus. I just don't think Carson Wentz is the guy to be able to operate that offense.
Yeah.
They added depth to their D-line, safety, and tight end groups with their 2nd, 4th, and 5th selections. Fedarian Mathis, Percy Butler, and Cole Turner. Some good guys in there. Good value picks.
Yep.
I really like their 3rd rounder, getting one of the top running backs in the draft, and Brian Robinson. Pairing him with Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick, it will give teams a lot to think about when they're in short situations.
Yes, yeah.
With a great running game and an emerging wide receiver core, I'll say it now. If Wentz struggles at all this season, and they're within striking distance of a wildcard spot, which I don't anticipate, but if early in the season you're like 4-4 or 5-3, something along those lines, I would not be surprised that Sam Howell starts around week 8 or week 10. That was their 5th round draft pick quarterback, Sam Howell. I think that was a good pickup by them, an insurance policy in case Wentz doesn't work out.
Definitely.
And it gives him a bit of time to work into the season, get a lot of reps at practice. I'm assuming they'll be splitting 60-40. I just have no faith in Wentz whatsoever. I don't know about what your take is on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're on something when it comes to like Howell's there in case something comes up.
Injury or shit.
And that's probably the most likely route is injury because like while he was healthy this year and played fairly well, the Colts, what they do, they went out and upgraded at quarterback. So it was a smart pick. We also had Howell going in the 1st round. We thought teams were going to be a bit more quarterback needy than we anticipated, and he did drop, like most of them did.
Yeah.
I think not only Robinson pairs well, but I think Dotson does too.
Me too.
A lot of people thought he was a reach of 16, while they're probably not wrong with that. I think he's a style of player that can play off of what's his name?
Terry McLaurin.
McLaurin, yes. And like if he plays on the outside, which I know he can do both.
He can do both, yeah.
Put Dotson inside, I think that could certainly work.
Well, McLaurin is more of a possession receiver, similar to Chris Godwin.
Yes.
Like he can go deep, but it's shallow crosses, it's 10 and ins, it's
he can run like 20-yard routes, but they're more so inside.
Intermediate.
I also see they drafted guard Chris Paul, so nice to see that after losing Game 7 in Phoenix, Chris Paul decided to play. Oh, that's a guard out of Tulsa, my bad.
Yeah, he'll be fine until he's 37. But the moment he hits 37, he's fucked. Jesus.
He changed his occupation completely.
Yeah. Ultimately, I give him a B+. Maybe a surprising grade there. But I think they hit a lot of their needs.
A touch optimistic, but I guess we can't give it a bad grade until it doesn't pan out,
I think their defense is fine. I think they were struggling on the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
And they picked up a great running back and a great wide receiver. So, to me, B+.
They didn't go all in on Wentz either, which is
no, they didn't.
Which is a big part of them picking a quarterback too. It's not a huge loss if they have to turn to him.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's get into New York Giants. Top needs: offensive linemen, linebackers, and tight ends. Because the Giants have so many holes, they were able to add 4 Week 1 starters to their roster with their first 5 selections. You got Thibodeau at the edge, Evan Neal at right tackle, Joshua Izudu at guard, and Cordell Flott at corner. All these guys seem to be number 1 in the depth chart right now because they just didn't have the guys. They didn't have the bodies to fill the positions.
Yeah.
Besides that, they added some depth in multiple positions, such as wide receiver and linebacker. Ultimately, I don't think any of these adds are going to turn this shit franchise around.
It's just not.
With Daniel Jones at the helm, I just don't think it's going to work. Even in the piss-poor NFC East. I don't think any of these are going to change life.
Well, like neither one of us is confident in saying they'll be third.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and the NFC East is getting better, right? I mean, it's not really, you got 2 solid teams at least that are like,
yeah,
I could see this,
solid teams.
Well, 2 playoff teams off last year too.
Yeah. So they did draft this wide receiver, Wan'Dale Robinson. I haven't looked into him a hell of a lot, and I thought it was a bit of a reach to get him in the second round.
Again, especially there was that grouping of 3 or 4 that came around 50.
Yeah.
George Pickens,
Mitchell,
Sky Moore. So he's going to be compared to those guys. I mean, even if 1 or 2 of them turn out really good, it's probably going to look bad on him if he doesn't pan up, or at least on par somewhere within those numbers.
Yeah, that's right.
And again,
they have
hard to have numbers in that offense as well.
Yeah. And they have one wide receiver. I can't remember his name. Drafted last year.
Oh, Tony.
Yeah, Kadarius Toney.
Yeah.
He looks like he might be trying to get out of town, which I don't blame him.
Yeah, I thought they said he was on the market around the draft. I don't know. He never got moved, obviously, so I'm not sure if that was more from his camp or the team.
Yeah. So, I mean, that kind of sums up the NFC East for me.
Yep.
I think a couple teams got better in Philly and Washington, and I feel like Dallas...
I think the Giants got better, too. They just got nowhere to go but up. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Plus, they had 2 picks in the top, 7. So, I mean, you're going to get quality players there, right?
But I did think they should have drafted Akeem Ekwonu first. And then 2 picks later, Thibodeau would have been there anyway.
Yeah.
So they would have got the best offensive lineman.
So you liked him more than Neal.
Yeah, just because of the run game.
Yeah.
Like you gotta try and help Saquon Barkley here because
poor guy's getting hurt every year.
My God, it's brutal.
Yeah.
Like he's expected to carry such a load with no offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know Neal's gonna be great in the passing game, but he's slow and can he get out in front of the line to block going down the field for a running back?
Yeah.
That's my question.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a mistake for them, but ultimately that sums it up for the NFC East.
All right, so we'll hop into the South here now. I'll start off with the Falcons. They did well. I like what they did. I gave them an A- grade based off what they did here. So to start, they had the 8th overall pick. And I think this was the first receiver taken.
It was
Drake London at number 8. Yeah, and so I mean he was one of our favorite coming out. So I mean total Julio Jones fill in. I mean they got nobody there who can catch a ball besides Kyle Pitts right now. None of them have experience. And
the issue
and
with
even
Pitts,
Kyle Pitts only with the 1 year experience,
The issue with Pitts is teams will just double him because there's nobody else.
And they probably still will. I mean, like, I know Drake London is solid prospect, but till he proves it, I guess. Like, if he comes out and has a, what's his name, Bengals? Well, just went off, had a crazy year.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, if he's a Chase-style year, Chase is getting doubled this year.
Yes.
Right? Like, if he comes out
I think he got doubled last year.
Yeah, exactly. Or Jefferson off Vikings.
Same
I mean,
thing.
as soon as they come in and they establish themselves right away, yeah, they'll definitely draw attention. I mean, especially he's probably already second on that offense behind Pitts, anyways. He
might be one.
He might even
because wide receivers get more touches than tight ends.
That's right. Yeah, and
But
they're not expected to block as much and all that. Right?
Yeah.
They're almost running the road on basically every play.
The fact that he's a wide receiver tight end hybrid, to me, that kind of gives Pitts a little elevation over the rest of the tight ends.
Really.
Exactly.
Yeah. So they turned to defense now for they had 2 second-round picks. So they went with Arnold Ebiketti, edge from Penn State. We liked him. I know he was on your draft board when you went through edge players. And Penn State, always a good school.
I was high on him.
Good defenses. They went with linebacker Troy Anderson as well at 58. I didn't know a whole lot about him. I did hear his name a couple times come up throughout the draft and how he was still there. So it seemed like a good value pick at that time. So they didn't get into the 3rd round. I mean, obviously their biggest hole was quarterback after trading Matt Ryan. Desmond Ritter, and he was very confident as soon as he got drafted.
Said the same thing Lamar Jackson
saying that
did.
they would win a Super Bowl there with him. And, before he even had the Atlanta hat on, he was saying they were going to win. And so I mean, you like that swagger in a quarterback, and that's good. So I'm pretty excited about that pick for
a couple years. This could be a scary offense.
And assuming he's definitely starting day one, given they have nothing else in place. I mean, it seems like they're just going to give him those reins. And
I think Mariota will start.
Was that him that?
Yeah, he's in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. I think he'll start, and they'll be primarily a running team. But then maybe between week 6 and week 10, Ritter will get the reins.
Yeah, depending on where their bye week is too. If they're slumping, if it's reasonably early and there's somewhere in that range that isn't looking too pretty, they could definitely turn it over.
Yeah, agreed.
So they went defense again in the 3rd round. D'Angelo Malone out of Western Kentucky, another edge player.
He's a good depth piece for them.
Yeah, solid. I think my favorite pick for them was round 5 with Tyler Algier. I heard his name a ton. A podcast listen to with the Tampa Bay beat. They love this guy. They really wanted Tampa Bay to get him. So 5th round too was pretty low. They thought he might have went into 3rd to 4th. So this was probably a bit of a drop for him. Really good player. I mean, they got Patterson, who kind of does a bit of everything too. I mean, they don't necessarily have a running back one who just kind of does everything. Just does that one like pound to rock kind of guy. So he might be that if he develops for them. So that's pretty good. And then in round 6, they got a guard and a tight end, just a couple depth pieces, both out of Georgia. Schaefer and Fitzpatrick. So pretty good draft for them. Definitely 4 to 5 pieces, maybe even 6 that can really be a key part of this team moving forward, especially in a couple of years.
Yeah, believe it or not, I gave him an A.
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah, I had A- for them, but like I said, these players can certainly turn out a lot better than what I think.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to Carolina. First round, sixth overall pick. They went with Ekwonu first, who you were just saying you were really high on. NC State, as you said, run blocker. McCaffrey should like him. Same kind of thing. Another running back who's there, who's constantly hurt. Always getting beat up on. So totally understandable move.
Yeah.
They didn't have a second round pick, so they didn't pick again until late in the third round, where they got quarterback Matt Corral. Now, again, I believe we had him going somewhere in the middle of the first round. So I mean, we whiffed on all these quarterbacks that are coming up, but I think do we have him here? I think we had Carolina taking the quarterback with pick 6 there.
Yes.
I'm not sure if it was him or not, but yeah. So again, solid pick there to get one that late, especially not having a second round pick. To be able to still get, probably I'm assuming it's the one that they liked down this low is okay. Again, will he start day 1? I'm not sure. I would assume he's going to have a shot.
I'm just going to say it's basically the same thing I've been saying for these other two teams.
Probably not right away, and then kind of
Thanksgiving, man. You get 8 games.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sam Darnold, you get 8 games. Marcus Mariota, same thing. You get 8. And if you don't produce and we're in the shitter again, well, we're going to use the rest of the season to kind of groom this youngster.
I think Darnold too was pretty good in the first 8 games last year. Like they were solid. I think you're like 4-4 or something, nothing crazy. But I mean, I'm sure they don't have super high expectations this year either.
No, the coach is really high on Sam Darnold.
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah. All right. So then they went defense for the next couple with linebacker Brandon Smith out of Penn State. Again, heard his name a lot coming up with linebackers. A lot of linebackers fell in this draft. I think he was another victim of that. Again, we seen with Dean earlier, just drop. And linebackers all over the place were getting picked with great value. Then they got a guy, Amari Barno. Heard his name as well. Off the edge from round 6. You don't hear a whole lot of names coming out of round 6. I did hear his name.
Quality names.
No, I did hear his name, so it could be a solid pick for them. And then they got a guard, Mays out of Tennessee in round 6, and depth corner Barnes in round 7. So I gave him a B-. Pretty solid. They got probably 3 players, maybe 4 I'm pretty excited about that can fit for their roster right away. Potentially, again, with quarterback, we'll kind of see how that pans out. But Ekwonu, I mean, obviously one of the top prospects. Top 6, there was no shock there.
Yeah, I gave him B- as well.
Pretty solid. Now moving on to the Saints, it's just a trend with the North too that there wasn't a ton of picks. Saints only had 5, so didn't have a whole lot to go off. Now, barring 2 were in the first round. So they traded up with Philly.
The Eagles first.
Philly first, yes. And to get number 11, which was Chris Olave. Now, there was a ton of movement here within picks, I think 10 to 14. There was 4 or 5 trades.
I think they traded with Houston to get up after.
Yeah, there was a lot of movement going on. So they gave up. They still ended up with 2 first-round picks, which they had. I'm not sure if they gave up.
I think it might have been a second or first next year.
It may have been the first next year, yeah. To move up to get Olave, which was I think the second one taken, or no, third. Jets took one at 10. So again, going off what we said earlier with Landry and Thomas and Olave, they got a brand new team really.
Yeah.
With that, so I mean that's a solid pick there. And then their second in the first round was Trevor Penning. We were high on him too, pretty much in the range we thought he would go, 19. Maybe even a bit lower than what we had in our mock, but very solid. Teron Armstead left to the Dolphins.
They needed it desperately.
He fills right into that spot. Then they went with Alontae Taylor in the second round, cornerback out of Tennessee at pick 49. Solid pick there. I think they definitely have the strength of defense, so this was, I'm not sure if he'll start.
He's a depth piece.
I think
depth chart.
I think he might be even like cornerback 3 or something. Like he potentially play in the slot or something along those lines. But definitely a piece that they could use if they run into injuries or something along those lines. But right now, I mean, their defense is so strong. I don't know if any of these guys are going to start that they picked. They had a wide gap now and didn't pick again until 161. DeMarco Jackson, linebacker. I don't even know what school that is. And then Jordan Jackson, D-tackle out of Air Force, pick 194 again. A couple of depth pieces on defense. Not sure if they'll be making the roster or not. They'll probably have a shot in training camp. We'll kind of see. Their defense is so strong, it's hard to pencil in anybody there.
If they do play, it's going to be barring injury.
Yeah. I give them a B-. Not as excited here, but they got 2 really top prospects in the first round, which I assume will plug and play.
I gave him B+ just because of that.
Just because of those 2 players.
Very strong needs.
Again, two picks in the top 20, you're going to get talent.
Right? Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so pretty good draft out of them. Now, wrapping up the South, we'll go to the Bucks. They had a bit more picks because they were trading left, right, and center. There's trades everywhere. They're constantly moving up and down. I give them a B overall.
Same.
They ended up trading out of late first round to get the first pick in the second round.
They were hoping Jermaine Johnson fell to them.
It seemed that way. It seemed like they were hoping he was going to be there for the D-line, and then he left at 26, and then 27 they immediately traded.
Jets traded up.
Didn't waste no time. Yeah, the Jets came up and got him. So then they traded with Jacksonville to move and get the first pick of the second round. They ended up getting Logan Hall out of Houston. They really liked him. He's one of the more athletic people they have on defense now. They said he's probably the best athlete they have on defense, which is crazy considering some of them.
Who?
Like
Logan Hall?
Logan Hall. They said
Jesus.
Over like Devin White and stuff. So I've been hearing good things of him so far.
Shit.
They also give him interesting note. They gave him number 90, which is Jason Pierre-Paul's number. So that pretty much shuts the door on him coming back. You would think, because they usually don't do that unless there's some door closed. So between him and Sue possibly not coming back, they definitely had to go D-line here.
Definitely.
So they did with Hall. Their other biggest hole, they traded for Shaq Mason. They had one more guard to fill in, so they went got Luke Godecki, yeah, okay, out of Central Michigan. Fills in for that left guard spot.
Yep.
Really good athlete again considering his size. With an O-line, he's quick for his size. Good run blocker, which is interesting because, again, they signed Fournette back. Definitely want to establish their run game. Brady's getting older. You don't want him dropping back 50 times a game. So I think their O-line, if he turns out solid, they got one of the best O-lines in the whole league. It's
Definitely.
Pretty tough to stop them there.
I'm interested to see what you think of their third-round pick.
Rashad White, yeah. Pretty good. I mean, I think there was probably some other ones that, name value-wise, I was a bit more excited by.
Yeah.
He does do a bit of everything, though. He catches the ball. I think that's what they were targeting when it comes to the running backs they were looking at, because obviously they know Brady likes to use that as a quick outlet.
Yeah.
That's really a strength of his in open space. He's not a huge back, so that's kind of what they got Lenny for. So
maybe a youthful Geo.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's like they said a comp was a James White. So James White does run between the tackles, so he does have that ability. But obviously can catch the ball in open space and really make people miss too.
So what does this mean for Keyshawn Vaughn? I'm not sure if he's going to have to take a back seat to this guy getting playing time.
Yeah, I mean,
between Fournette and him, if they can both catch passes.
It's not unconventional for a team to have 4 running backs. So I mean, I think between Gio, Lenny catches the ball a lot too. I don't know if his playing time is going to be huge because Vaughn is more of a traditional runner too. So you can go Lenny and Vaughn to run, Lenny/White to catch, and then Gio's there in a pinch if there's injuries. Whatever. So. I think they can still make that work with all 4. I don't expect any of the 4 to get cut. If so, probably Gio because of his age too and his cheap contract. So I like the pick considering what he can do, but I do think in terms of long term for Tampa, they would probably rather somebody who's going to run the ball a lot better too.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure he's quite that guy, but it's worth taking a shot on a high talented running back in the third round. So another need they had was at tight end. Cade Otton they took at pick 106. It's looking like Gronk is probably going to come back, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, I've seen a couple things where
he's 50-50 almost.
He's saying he's not.
He's saying he's not, but he always kind of acts.
Yeah,
acts
he's
that
always
way.
a shithead about it.
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of leading people on a tiny bit. So I think this was a good move because, I mean, you still have Brait. You have him now. They also drafted Kieft in the 6th round as tight end. Again, not super traditional to have 4 tight ends on the roster. So if Gronk does come back, does Kieft stay?
One will have to get cut.
But I think, I was listening to a podcast on the way over. If they keep 4 tight ends, they might only go with 6 receivers. I think that's the idea. Like last year, I think they went 7. So if they keep 4, they might go with 6.
What if Jules signs?
Well,
one of these guys are.
Kiev probably will not be on the roster.
Yeah.
So they took Otten and then Kiev again in 4th round. Probably the strangest pick they have, but turned out he's pretty good so far. Was Karmada, the punter, in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Any 4th round punter is bizarre, and especially because the Bills got that punt god guy in the 6th round.
Yeah.
Probably could have either one taken that guy here if you were afraid he was going to go because he kicks 80 yards.
Yeah, you were saying that he was playing in California or something.
He was.
And it was beautiful weather all the time.
He was, yeah.
And now he's got to go up to Buffalo.
Now he's going up to Buffalo. It's crazy windstorms in the winter and all that. So, but again, going from California to Tampa would have been a smoother transition there. So
yep, that's right.
It would have been an easier pick. One of the picks I'm most excited about is Zion McCollum in the 5th round corner. A lot of good stuff coming out from him so far. Apparently, him and Mike Evans are already tied to the hip, working together because again, as a wideout, you can kind of teach a corner some things in terms of route running, what a wideout's thinking when they're running certain routes. Apparently, in minicamp they've been talking a little bit, and they seem to be pretty good buddies.
Okay.
I think they went to the same school too, or a school that was close or something. So I think they may have known each other too beforehand. But anyways, they very excited about him. A lot of teams were saying that this could potentially be a steal this late to get him in the 5th. And, of course, definitely a need for Tampa with some questions at corner and a lot of injuries last year.
Yeah, for sure.
And then they took depth edge piece in the 7th round, Andre Anthony. So, overall, some really good talent. A lot of these pieces should be starters. Will definitely get some playing time. Could be some sleepers in there. So I'll give them a B. So that'll wrap up the South now for me.
I just think beyond the D-line, which they addressed, and the O-line, which they addressed, I think every other position was a luxury pick. This draft wasn't do or die for the Bucs, but they did what they needed to do, so I give them a B.
And I think even with that corner, it could have been okay, let's just take a shot at one.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be a pretty talented one.
Right.
And again, with the running back too, same thing. They probably felt like they needed one. Signed Lenny back, so it was less of a priority, but they still wanted to take one. Tight end, same thing.
Yep.
Probably getting Gronk back, but just in case, we'll take one. So they're covering their bases in case anything happens.
That's right. So we'll move on to the NFC North. That's the one I was going to take, right, Jane?
Yes, that's
NFC
right.
North. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll start with the Packers. Top needs, wideout, of course, linebacker and O-line. The Packers got great players with both of their first-round selections, getting 2 Georgia boys at linebacker and DT. Yep. Quay Walker and Devontae Wyatt, 2 guys from Georgia. Quay Walker, he was kind of a rotational linebacker, it seemed to me. He was the number 2 behind Nicolby Dean.
Yeah.
So that was a questionable pick for me. But they didn't take a wide receiver like everyone thought, which, Shane, you brought up many times that they haven't taken one in the first round in ever. So
never.
It was.
It's like they're so against it. I'm not sure. There's some taking a tight end or a running back. There's sometimes you're nobody should take this position at this spot, and for some reason they don't value them this high.
Yeah, maybe it's just because they had the quarterback for the last 20 years and Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers.
And now it's funny too because they won't take one in the first round. And then as soon as the second round starts, straight up. If they were that high on their guy, now they end up getting who they wanted, I guess. So I guess in their mind, I guess it panned out. But went up and got Watson. So
I mean, looking at their schedule and their own lack of weapons, looking back on it, it kind of makes sense for them to go defense with both first round picks because they're playing pretty much everybody in their division besides Chicago has better weapons than they have. Detroit has better weapons. Believe it or not. They mightn't have the quarterback. Jared Goff's an average guy, but they do have the weapons. With Hawkinson, Jameson Williams. They got DJ Chark from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who was that? Their top wideout last year.
St. Brown?
Yes, Ahmad St. Brown. So they've got potential there.
Yeah.
They did get Christian Watson in the second round, like Shane mentioned, but I'm not sure if he changed his life like many of the other wide receivers who went early in the draft. I'm also not sure that a rookie can produce a wide receiver 1 role on a contender like the Packers, because they have 3s and 4s, and now they have Watson. So can he live up to being a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2?
I'm not going to say he's going to be Adams, but he has to equate probably at least 1,000-yard season, seeing as how much Adams...
Yes.
Adams was what, like 1,700 yards?
Every year.
Crazy.
100
like
receptions.
He has to come in and make some form of splash.
Yes.
Otherwise, they are in deep trouble.
I agree. With the remaining picks, they added depth to the following positions. Right guard, wide receiver, left guard, and linebacker.
Yeah, they picked 3 old linemen from the 3rd round on.
Yeah, you got
Interesting.
Sean Ryan, Zach Tom, and Rashad Walker.
Just picked all guys with 2 first names.
Yeah, what? Jonathan Ford, Tariq Carpenter at safety, Samori Toure. He dropped really far in this draft, and I think they're kind of just taking a swing on him.
7th round, yeah.
7th round.
Yeah.
And Romeo Dubes. He's probably going to be the number 2. Behind Alan Lazard. It's right there for the taking, right?
So yeah, I mean, they took 3.
They took 3.
So even if you hit one good one and one rotational piece,
yes,
out of those 3, it would be okay.
Yeah. So ultimately, I gave them a B. I wasn't really impressed with anything they did.
Yeah, that's fair.
I was kind of shocked with a couple of their selections, but...
Well, like, some teams have 5 picks, they had 11. So, like, It was more quantity, I guess.
Somebody has to hit.
They'll hit on a couple of these that we're not even expecting, I'm sure.
Yeah. All right, on to the Minnesota Vikings. For their top needs, defensive line, corner, and tight end. Honestly, the Vikings didn't do a hell of a lot in this draft other than they had a starting safety and some depth at corner, right guard, and wide receiver. I like the pick at safety, getting Louis Sean.
Yeah.
And Andrew Booth was a good pick. He's going to slot in as maybe your corner 3.
Yeah.
Maybe playing the slot like you had mentioned earlier.
Yeah, we weren't sure if he was going to slip into the bottom half of the first round too, with the run on corners early.
Yeah. You got Ed Ingram, backup guard. In case of injury, he'll be playing, but otherwise he won't see the field. Linebacker Bryant Asamoah. Decent linebacker, but not going to change life. Ekaleb Evans. He seems to be slotting in there right behind Booth as a depth piece, so maybe something to get excited about.
Yeah, you could definitely find a corner starter within the 4th, 5th round for sure.
Yeah. And they took a tight end, Nick Muse, in 7th round, and wide receiver Jalen Naylor in 6th round. So a couple more depth pieces for them, but ultimately I gave them a C+ because I wasn't shocked. Or I wasn't blown away by anything they did.
Yeah, it was more so depth pieces again, like some D-line pieces. Took a running back in the 5th round.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously their running back set.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, totally depth pieces it seems here.
Yeah, they got Cook and they got Matheson.
Again, so. 10 overall picks. Take a swing at a couple of these late ones.
Yeah.
A lot of them, 5 of their 10 was from the 5th round on, so a lot of swings.
C+ for Minnesota.
Yeah.
Moving on to the Bears, top line, everything, or top needs, pretty well everything.
Yeah.
Maybe even quarterback at this point because I don't know what Justin Fields is. He was rookie last year, but it's such a crapshoot of a team.
It's just unfortunate too that like this roster looks awful.
It's awful.
Like it's just I can't.
Like a 5th rounder could start for them.
How is he expected to perform with this
Exactly.
team? I just don't get it.
So, saying that, I think this team should be focusing on what they have in Justin Fields. They should have gotten a wide receiver or solid running back to pair with Montgomery, who's always injured, and Khalil Herbert. Really no versatility on this offense whatsoever besides Mooney, their number 1. They drafted, I don't know how to say his name, Velus Jones?
Velus or Velas?
Velus Jones in 3rd round. I mean, maybe your number 2 at this point because they're so strapped at wide receiver.
I couldn't tell you another guy.
Yeah.
Behind him.
I did like 2 picks that they had, though, in the 2nd round. Kyler Gordon at corner. He'll probably start. And safety Jaquan Brisker.
I loved Brisker.
Who was the 2nd safety ranked.
Yeah.
So that's solid. But do you really want to be working on defense at that point?
Gordon may have been a bit of a reach again, just because there was a run on corners. I mean, he was probably the 6th or 7th corner at this point.
Yeah,
that was already taken at.
I put Booth right there with him
by 39. Yeah, so I like Booth more than him. Just as a quick example, but definitely worth a swing. I mean, again, no wide receivers on that roster. They didn't take one until the 3rd round. Again, there was some defensive talent there that was pretty hard to pass up, but you're just leaving Fields to die. Yeah. He is just gonna get killed, man.
With their remaining picks, they just added depth to safety and they got a punter. So not really much to talk about.
They also took 4 O-linemen from the 5th round on. So again, if they like me think he's gonna die, they're at least trying to protect them. So I mean, at least there's that. Yeah. Who's he gonna throw it to? If we can pylon at this point.
So I gave him a C+. I really wasn't blown away with anything here.
I actually didn't think it was this bad, but looking at it now, I think they may have had the worst drafts.
Yeah.
I think I might have given him a C-, to be honest with you. I think this is awful. I like the first 2, but
other than that, and they are not even.
They're not even. Hits. Yeah, they're not locks to really pan out. Yeah, I must say I'm very, very down on them.
So, let's move on from that crapshoot and go on to the Detroit Lions. Top needs for me, a quarterback beyond Jared Goff.
Yeah.
Not sure how long he's going to stay there on that contract because, god damn, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what the free agent market is looking like next year. I know the quarterback draft market is looking pretty good. That's probably the idea. Like, kind of develop these guys this year. They're probably going to be picking reasonably high again next year.
Top 10.
Get a quarterback in when there's higher picks. I mean, again, you'll list them off now in a minute, but a couple of these first 3-4 guys are really, really quality. Let's bring them in, get them in the system. This year's not going anywhere, and then we'll start next year.
Exactly. The Lions were really competitive last year with a lot of teams.
They were close.
They
lost a lot of close games.
They had 6 games where they lost 3 points or less.
Yeah.
So, Jesus.
And even the ones they won were really, really very competitive. Close. So they were in 6 or 7 games that were last drive of the game, kind of 4th quarter battles.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting roster considering where they pick from.
Yeah. So in my eyes, the Lions had a solid draft, adding stars at both defensive end and wide receiver in Aiden Hutchinson and Jameson Williams, with their first 2 selections. Other than that, they just added depth at safety and linebacker with Kirby Joseph and
I liked him. I like Kirby Joseph. I thought he was pretty good.
I think he was 3rd or 4th ranked safety.
He was pretty high up.
Other than that, there's not much to talk about here. Defensive end Joshua Paschal?
Paschal, maybe? I'm not sure.
Something like that. Not a bad pick, but I feel like there was a lot better people on the board. James Houston, edge in the 6th round, and Chase Lucas, corner in the 7th round. So I don't think those guys will play a hell of a lot.
No.
But you never know. They could make it and never see the field. They could make the team, never see the field.
This class for them will be based off those top 2.
Yeah.
I mean, tough to get more raw talent than those 2.
Yeah, exactly.
We mentioned this when we did our live draft show, but it seems like when Jacksonville took Walker in the first pick, they were like Hutchinson. They're like, "Oh, come here!" It was quick.
Michigan guy.
They had to pick in within 30 seconds or something. It was great. And then Williams. I mean, come on,
man.
This guy could be a slam dunk. He could be.
Pair him with those fine receivers in Detroit. Now he might not be healthy until week 4.
I'm also afraid. I mentioned this too on the draft show that don't waste this guy's career.
Yes,
I fear that may happen. But again, if that's how they play it, let's just get through this year, get them a young quarterback, let them build together, and in 3 years from now, they could be phenomenal.
And they got Hawkinson.
Yes.
Let's not underrate him. He's one of the best tight ends in the league.
Yeah, awesome.
For them, I gave him B+. I think they had a fine draft.
Yeah, they did.
All right, let's move on to the... what were you going to say?
No, just a quick question now because we chat all over Chicago. Do you think they have a chance to pass them?
Yes.
I think it would be certainly close.
I think Aiden Hutchinson will add half a win.
I think Detroit is going to be like the New York Giants of this year. They'll probably have a top 10 pick, but they'll win games and they'll be competitive.
They're going to have to trade up next year to get a quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think I'm not sure if it's going to be like last year with 5 in the top 15.
No.
I think there's a couple.
There would be one going 1.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
And then maybe another in the top 5. But then maybe within the next 20 picks, you might get 1.
Who would you say standing out as 1 right now? Like Seattle, maybe? Houston?
Seattle's going to be shit.
Seattle's going to be really bad.
Chicago's going to be bad.
No, I'm thinking more of where would the quarterbacks be taken. I think even if Chicago's horseshit, they're not going to take.
Oh yes, true that.
Right. Seattle probably would.
Houston, even Carolina.
And I think Houston should, but I think they might actually be too stupid and not because they have Davis Mills. Yeah. They might get the first pick and not take one.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right, but anyways.
Yeah. So let's move on to the NFC West. Little rip, Shane.
All right. So speaking of the Seahawks, we will hop in with them first. They had the 9th pick this year. As I said, probably going to go higher next year, but they took Charles Cross this year. I think we nailed this one. We had this was who we had to them on our mock. Very, very solid tackle. He was up there with the likes of Neal and stuff, with a lot of those higher end guys that were going in the top half, anyways, of the draft. And he didn't escape the top 10 as we thought. In the second round, they went with Boye Mafe. I'm not sure how the first name's pronounced. Edge out of Minnesota. I like him.
Yep,
I thought he was higher up on the lower end of the top 10. I think because there was a lot of talent on the edge and the D line overall. But I mean, he was still within that top 10 to 15 range. I want to say because I think D line was probably the most talented grouping out of any spot going into this draft. So they had back-to-back picks here. Actually, they took Kenneth Walker, probably my favorite running back.
I love that pick.
I really, really liked him. So that's interesting for them, though, because they have a couple running backs that are starting to age.
Yeah.
Not really sure if they're going to start. So he could potentially be the number one guy.
Rashad Penny's young, and he's a quality guy. He came on last year and had 300-yard games in the last 4 or 5.
So it could be an interesting one.
So pair him with Carson and Rashad Penny.
There,
it's going to be hard to deal with that.
Carson too, yeah. That's right, yeah.
Carson's always injured. He had a serious concussion or something last year. And just big
That's
issues.
why he's never playing. I totally forget he's even there.
Yeah.
So they took a tackle, Abraham Lucas, in the 3rd round. I mean, just building that front line, I guess. I mean,
he's going to be a starter too.
They're going to run it with Drew Lock, I guess, this year and kind of see what happens. And, again, will they be in a spot now in top 5 next year, take quarterback next year, trade for somebody? I don't know what their plan is.
Now, I'm very interested to see if they jump on Baker Mayfield if he's released. I think
it's the only team left that would have a shot at him. I would think everyone else seems like they're kind of
they've got their shit guy and their insurance policy from the draft. Yeah. All the guys who need a quarterback. So except for the Seahawks.
So they took Kobe Bryant next. Not spelled the way you probably think. C-O-B-Y. Kobe Bryant, cornerback out of Cincinnati. Again, their defense, Legion of Boom is gone. The last pieces are being plucked out with Bobby Wagner. There's not a whole lot of pieces left from that team. So, I mean, they're pretty much starting from scratch on defense with a lot of these pieces. So they went back-to-back with corner Tariq Woolen. Then they went back to the edge with Tyreek Smith at 158. Now, again, you could get some quality guys here in the 5th round. So, we'll see how they pan out. Now, there are a lot of these, the corner Tyreek Woolen is from Texas San Antonio. It's a smaller school guys, but like I said, probably a lot of talent, dominated in D2 or something.
Yeah.
Come on up, can it translate to the NFL?
Yeah.
They took two wide receivers in round 7, Bo Melton and Derek Young. Again,
at this point, you're trying to find a needle in a haystack.
Again, very smaller schools. Rutgers, Belichick loves them, so I don't know. Might be something in that Melton kid. We'll see.
Yeah.
So overall, I gave them A- because I like what they did with a lot of picks. I'm putting a lot of that pick on Walker because I really, really like him.
Yeah.
He was one of my favorite players, period, to watch. Just his tape was phenomenal. Great. I mean, Charles Cross is solid, consistent. Who you definitely want there. The couple edge players.
But you can see a direction that they're going in now.
Yep.
They're going to establish a running game.
Yeah.
This year with the offensive line picks and the running back. And you didn't see that before. It was just, fuck it. We're not gonna protect Wilson because he's just gonna roll out.
And the thing people are forgetting with how bad of a team this is they still have Lockett and Metcalf.
Yes.
Neither one of them ended up getting traded. Like there was kind of speculation.
And they drafted a wide receiver last year, and I'm not sure who it was, but showed some promise last year. 600 yards.
So if they can establish the run game, they still got their wideouts. bring in a quarterback next year potentially, or Mayfield. Who knows? And he would have weapons that are established for him. Maybe they won't be as bad.
Yeah, agreed.
Right? So,
I give him B+. I was satisfied.
Yeah, it was a very, very solid draft. So quick one here. We'll go to the Rams. I just give him a C. I mean,
C+. Yeah,
really, there's not much to say here. Like they were talking about Cole Strange when the Patriots took him, that they were looking at him. They stuck to that plan and went with a guard at 104, Logan Bruss. Then they took a cornerback, Nicolby Dean, South Carolina State, again small school, round 4, and then 6 picks within round 5 of just running back, couple safeties, cornerback, a tackle, and edge player. I mean, all depth pieces. I mean, maybe they might pan out.
Some of these players aren't even second on depth chart.
No,
it's like if they get serious injuries, then these guys will see.
I think the one that might have a chance is the running back. Maybe.
Yeah,
I think that might.
But even with Cam Akers there and Henderson.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
And I think what's his name?
I don't know who you're talking about. Akers, Henderson, Sony Michel.
Yes, was the Dolphins he signed with, I think.
Oh, he's gone.
He's gone. He signed with somebody else. But that's why I was thinking he might be brought in to fill that role.
Yes.
Whatever that minuscule role it was. I think when Henderson might have got banged up, I think at one point. No, Michelle had one good game there late in the season. He had like almost 100 yards or something, and it was just one random like Thursday night game or something. He came in and had a decent game, and then that was it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. But maybe you might see him there. So not much out of them.
Right now, they got him slotted as third on the depth chart, right where Sony Michel was.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to the 49ers. They didn't have any picks until pick 61, so like the Rams, not a whole lot to go off in terms of raw talent because they weren't going to get a whole lot.
Yeah.
They took Drake Jackson, whose name was thrown around quite a bit as an edge piece. Again, their defense is really, really good, so any impact this player could have, could really step in and play well there.
Good rotational player. If the defensive line gets banged up, sub him in.
Yeah.
Right there with Joey Bosa.
They took a running back in the 3rd round, Tyrion Davis-Price. Haven't heard his name almost at all. I'm not too familiar with what he brings, what type of player he is. But again, that is a running style offense that really makes it easy for the running backs to have success. So I could see that working out for them.
That was a confusing pick for me, though, because look at this. They got Elijah Mitchell.
Yes.
Great rookie from last year.
Yeah.
Jeff Wilson, Jermichael Hasty, Trey Sermon. Where does he fit in? He's not even shown on the depth chart.
That's interesting, yeah.
Why would they do that?
And all those names are like not household names, but
you've heard of them because of their offense.
I'm aware of them from fantasy last year. They were always guys who you'd pick up off the waiver because they had a lot of injuries, like I said. So they had a receiver as well in the 3rd round, Danny Gray. I have heard his name. I think SMU. He play. I always know their school because it has like a really similar look to the Calgary Stampeders. Their unis are like identical. So every time I see it, I'm thinking it's highlights from them. So yeah, no, I did see his name. I think he's like a slot. He's like a smaller guy. Round 4, they took a guard, Spencer Burford. Again, smaller school, Texas San Antonio D2. Couple corners here in the 5th and 6th round, Sam Womack and Tariq Castro-Fields at Penn State and Toledo. And then just some depth pieces here. First off, I totally forgot about this pick. A+, shut down the draft. Brock Purdy went the last pick of the draft. A+ for the 49ers. Everybody else go home. This guy will win 18 Super Bowls.
Yeah. Wow. I was giving Shane a little bit of shit there one day. I was like, yeah, look, your sleeper pick went Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick of the draft. Then I was like, shit, who was mine? My guy didn't even get drafted, so I had to take it all back.
Yeah, like, it's so funny, too. Like, with this team, like, now they have 3 quarterbacks who was like, I kind of like, not thinking he's ever going to start, but of course, they took Lance last year. I'm assuming Jimmy could still also be on the move. Like, would Seattle go after somebody that can? Or, again, there's not a whole lot of teams that will trade now. Like,
it's such a shit show.
I almost think they're better off saving Jimmy now and trading him at the trade deadline. Maybe this year. I think
wait for an injury somewhere.
His value, trading right now would be just
coming off shoulder surgery,
extremely low because you trade him at the trade deadline, and then most people are looking to trade before the draft or something because that's obviously where you're using these picks.
Yep.
Right after the draft makes little to no sense. So I don't know, but does he start then at that point? So yeah, it was an interesting pick. I think we mentioned on the AFC side, like most teams, like Kansas City was taking a quarterback in the 7th round.
Yeah.
Every team is taking quarterbacks here. So do I think this was made as a move that they can potentially move to in the future? Probably not. But as I said, I enjoyed his tape. I like the guy from what I've seen. Why not throw a dart? Especially if they move Jimmy, he could be a backup or something, right?
Yeah, and even if Trey Lance doesn't pan out, well, you got a third guy.
You got something, right?
Yeah.
All right, so overall, in all seriousness, though, I wasn't super high on their draft. They didn't get much talent overall, so I give them a C+. It really wasn't
B-.
wasn't a whole lot to go off there.
Yeah, B- was only because Drake Jackson and
it was really based off the first pick. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so wrapping up, I think this is the last one. Arizona Cardinals. So they took one of our favorite players, Trey McBride, 55. Again, no first round pick for them for almost any team here. In the West, Trey McBride goes 55, best tight end by quite a bit.
We assume,
yeah,
90 grabs,
1,200
yards.
Really do it all, big guy.
Hardly any touchdowns though. I noted that. That was weird. 0 touchdowns.
Wasn't
actually,
really a big red zone threat, but they did re-sign Zach Ertz, I think, to.
This is what I was gonna say. I don't like the pick. I don't love the pick of Trey McBride just because
it didn't seem like it filled a need.
Yeah, because he's going to be sitting behind Zach Ertz.
Super talented, but I don't think it necessarily filled what
unless they move to a power running game, which they lost both of their running backs. I don't know if
he was just super high on their board, and they probably thought he possibly could have been gone by here, and they were just like, geez, we got to take him. He's still there. Yeah, I think it was similar to how Baltimore felt when they took Hamilton in the first round. Like, they didn't need a safety, but they were like, oh, geez, he's
best available.
He's just sitting there, and Arizona didn't have any massive needs, I guess. Like, they had a pretty good season, number 1 seed for a while. They were a playoff team.
Yeah.
Still, especially without the first round pick, do you also want to waste your second? So I guess we'll see. Talented kid, but I'm not sure. And Ertz isn't spring chicken, one of our favorite terms on this podcast. So not he has had a history of injuries as well too. So
yeah, that's right.
Was a safety pick, I guess. They took Cameron Thomas and Majai Sanders, both edge players in the 3rd round. They lost Chandler Jones this offseason, so not a bad move there to try to fill in a couple of those holes that they had in their front line. Then again, just a massive gap here from the 3rd round all the way down to the 6th round, so they had over 100 picks that they didn't have a pick. So they went from round 3 to round 6. They took a running back, a guard, a defensive back, a linebacker, and another guard. Five picks in the final 6. No real standout names that I'm recognizing here. So just a couple of depth pieces there, and that was all they had. Just more quantity over quality in the late rounds. So just based off the top couple picks there. I really C plus maybe. That's being quite friendly, I think.
I think so too.
So yeah, that's all I got for them, and the West overall, 3 of the teams didn't have a first round pick, and then the Seahawks did pretty solid with a couple of their first round hauls, and that was pretty much it.
Yeah, for Arizona, I had their top needs at linebacker, wide receiver, and corner. They didn't address wide receiver in the draft, but they did acquire Hollywood Brown from the Ravens, so I figured I want to mention that.
Yeah.
That was a good pickup for them and a great ad for Kyler Murray.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess that'll be it for now.
Yeah, I think we're getting into OTAs now, whatnot. So there's not a whole lot going on. Mini camps and all that's coming up now in May. So it's probably going to get pretty quiet now from us. We're thinking about coming back. We might do a little bit of a dive into the schedule at some point now in the next few
I'd like
weeks.
to definitely hit on the Bucs schedule and the New England schedule.
Yeah.
And then maybe you pick 5 games that you think are going to be
just
home
awesome
runs.
Yeah.
and then I'll pick 5 as well.
Yeah, I mean, most of I don't have a great knowledge right now without prepping of
Same.
like the whole league in a whole. Now I know a lot of the like the Sunday night games, for example.
Yeah.
A lot of the nationally televised games that are looking pretty good. A couple of those international games that are coming up mid-season. A couple of those have been really, put out there and shown what was coming. But I know I got pretty familiar with the Bucs and Patriots so far. So so far it looks okay. But we'll devote a whole thing to it coming up in a few weeks. So that'll probably be our next one now. Like I said, probably be a week or two before we're back. But I think that's it for today's.
Cool.
All right, so for Shane Stanley and John Hepso, thanks for listening. Like, share, subscribe, and all that fun business. We'll catch you next time on the NFL Roundup Podcast.
Yep, take it easy.
Peace out.